Alright, so Ultra Premier Cup is going to start from September 28th, which is a few days from now, until Monday, October 2nd. It's going to last 2 weeks as usual. It's going to have a 2500 CP limit, and it will be here for about 2 weeks. Now, actually, 2 weeks exactly. However, it's important to note that if you really like Ultra Premier, you see that little blurb down there that says all three leagues and the Premier Cup? No CP limit will be able from November 3rd to November 9th. In other words, your only time you can play Ultra Premier is going to be from September 28th to October 12th. It will not be available when all of the leagues come back. I don't know why they haven't done this yet. I'm guessing they're too lazy to code in a second Premier Cup. Like I said before, they're kind of lazy to throw in the Premier Cup for Ultra League so that you can do it last week. But the good thing is that you have the Halloween Cup as well. So if you don't want to do it, you take a look back, you'll have Halloween Cup before you have to. You can go back to Great League or you could do Master League if that's your bread and butter. Anyways, for Ultra Premier, if you remember before and you took a look at the rankings before for PV Poke, Honchkrow was actually number one as far as like leads go. But overall, the ratings have changed a lot. Overall, it seems to be Machamp is like your number one lead. And I honestly don't know why. I mean I get it. It's really good, but I it's a lot of people. So here's what happened. If you saw the meta from before, if you played Ultimate League before, a lot of individuals were using, a lot of players were actually not just content creators, but other people were actually using confusion leads. So things like Slowbro, Exeggutor, also Galade was really popular as a lead. Machamp gets wiped if you see one. Not only that, you see the key losses here. A lot of the top four, the top three actually are really popular, and you can still see Charmers. So you still saw players using things like Clefable, Togekiss, etc. Gramble was another thing. Gramble with Charm slash Snarl was another thing. So that's why it's kind of surprising. I mean, it's very powerful overall. Otherwise, it literally beats Charizard. It beats Charizard. It beats Empoleon, Snorlax, Gyarados. These are really common picks as well. So I can understand why overall Machamp is still extremely powerful. Which I would kind of agree with its placement in here. If you don't encounter Confusion Loser, there's a lot of play with Machamp just because of how powerful it is, how much pressure it puts on your team. Along with that, its Shadow Cousin comes in second. If you've noticed here, you actually, for the set, okay, so here's the interesting part. Overall, the Shadow version actually beats Swampert. So you have a stronger Machamp matchup with the Shadow version versus the regular version. The only difference is that the regular version is actually stronger than Shadow, like, because the bulk actually matters. For example, have you ever seen a Shadow Machamp get deleted by a Confusion user? No? It sucks. It dies very, 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 very fast, including Charms. It really sucks. So that's why I can see why regular Machamp is such a great overall Pokemon. Enough me praising about Machamp. Overall, you still have a lot of popular picks. For example, Lapras, Swampert, and Snorlax. Those were really popular picks. You could still expect to also see the fabled Gyarados and also Magna Zone. I saw a lot of Excavaliers and Empoleons. You can expect to see those too. Basically, I would say if you had to run down this list, I would say the top 30 are what you can expect the most. Obstagoon, Gyarados, Heracross was I saw Heracross. Some players were using Electivire. Even Crustle was being used very heavily. That's because Crustle really rocks the entire meta. You kill Charizard really fast, you kill Lapras really fast, and just Fury Cutter slash Smackdown, you can actually do a lot of damage. Again, if you really wanted to see what you're going to encounter in this meta, like most of the time, would definitely be 1 through 30. Definitely 1 through 30. You could still see, of course, you could still see things below, like the 30th, but like I would say, like focus on the top 30. Also remember, confusion users, heavy confusion users means Machamp dies, but Machamp is still an incredibly powerful lead. If you actually go to the leads, like is recommended as number one, both versions. In the 2 shield, it's incredibly powerful. So that's why Machamp is number 2. I hardly ever see Honchkrows. No, seriously, you will like Honchkrows is overall as a lead, Honchkrow is very powerful because you beat all the confusion users. You also beat Venusaur, Swampert, Gyarados, Charizard, and Snorlax. So there's very good use for Honchkrow. You don't see a lot of it though in the lead just because the lead is just so volatile. Because the things you lose against, like Lapras, Empoleon, Obstagoon, these are still really popular picks. Especially Ampharos. There were still, like I said, there were still really popular picks that could take out Honchkrow. While I agree it is number 3, be very careful because Honchkrow, as you see, is only, like, if you look overall, Honchkrow is only mostly powerful in the lead. Once it goes to switch a closer, Honchkrow is still kind of squishy. So you want to be careful about using Hachi. Hachi ain't that thick. Magna Zone is also one of the number 1 leads just because of its potential as a shield breaker and it beats a lot of meta picks. So Magna Zone is incredibly powerful, breaks shields, and can sweep the back row if necessary. Very strong. So for your leads, you can expect to see Machamps. You expect to be Honchkrows, Magna Zones. You played a lot from like if you played a lot of Premier Cup on Season 3, you'll see a lot of these, like, again, with the top 30 thing, with, like, overall, you'll see a lot of top 30 as well. You'll see a lot of Charizard, Empoleons, Excavaliers, you might even see some Toxicroaxes, and like I said, Confusion users, like Galade. Galade. You will see Confusion users in the lead, a lot because of Machamp. But also, there's also a lot of good picks in the lead, so there's a lot of other great picks in the lead. But like I said, you can mostly expect to see Magna Zones, Confusion users, and whatever you saw in Season 3 that was really popular. Like I said, from the 1 through 30. Like I said, you could still see anything below level, like the top 30 here, but from what I've noticed before, you will see a lot of, like, the top 30 in the lead. Especially, like, the top 10. For your closers, you have Electivire Shadow. This is really dangerous to use. It's a fantastic safe switch, just be really careful. The reason being is because Shadow Electivire is very squishy. Even though you have Ice Punch, you will still lose against Venusaur, and even you will lose against Swampert because it resists your wild charges. You lose against a lot of picks here. Ironically, you will even lose against Ampharos because all it has to do is Thunder Punch you to death. That's how squishy Electivire is. Again, number 1 switch, but be incredibly careful. In fact, I would definitely be a little safer. I'd go with the regular version. You still flip the same matchups. Like, yeah, you still flip the same match. The only difference is you lose against Galade. However, Galade will still die if you manage to yeet it with a freaking Wild Charge. Because Wild Charge hits so hard. So keep that in mind. If you want to use Electivire, you can. I definitely recommend, for you to save dust, and just for the sake of, like, your sanity, use the regular version. Bulk matters. Especially if you get hit by one of these, you're gonna die really fast. You're gonna die really fast if you can't land shots with a Shadow Electivire. Shadow Venusaur was a great switch. A lot of safe switches I saw where you would get your Machamp thrown into you. Machamp was in a, like, people were using Machamp as safe switches. I also saw, let's see, Venusaur is, like, in the back. A lot were using Kingdra, so you can see Kingdra with Dragon Breath and Octazooka. It's a fantastic safe switch, and if you land the debuff with Octazooka, your opponent is going to hate you a lot. They will hate you a lot. A safe switch I used a lot was Alolan Muck. I used Amok very heavily as a safe switch, however I abandoned it for my Season 2 model just because there are better versions out there. For example, Magna Zones, Machamps, etc. These are really great alternative picks for the closer. Now we have switches. Okay, so this is really interesting. I don't remember where I found the Bison Burger ever on the list on PvP Ultra Premier, but apparently Bison is good. That means Bison Burger Smash, and Bison Burger will run you over if you show it red. Here's the thing though, it's only available in, like, New York and the surrounding areas, so Buffaloant is a freaking monster. I ran some sims with it, and it's literally the only thing in the meta that can beat Charizard, Swampert, and Gyarados, just because it's that good. The giant problem with Buffaloant is that it's monotype. So Mudshot generates energy quickly, and Stomp and Skull Bash. But what I mean by monotype is there's a lot of things that can punch you in the face in Ultra Premier Cup. Mainly Machamp, Excavalier, Poliwrath is also still there, and Obstagoon is arguably one of the most popular counter users along with Excavalier. There's a lot of things that punch you in the face in this meta. Because of that, Buffaloant is kind of limited. However, don't let that fool you. Buffaloant, like I said, it's the only thing that literally beats Swamp. It beats Snorlax. It literally beats Snorlax. You don't get stabbed with Mudshot, but because Mudshot is one of the best energy generating moves in the game, you can beat Snorlax, which is really good. The list that it beats is incredibly powerful, and we'll go over that during the Matrix. But Buffaloant, if you don't have one, it's still like I wouldn't put it too heavily at number one just because there's a lot of fighters, like I said. But if you have one, it's really good. I'd give it a shot. However, if you had what you had back in the day, it still works as far as your switches go. For example, you have these awkward things like Shadow Gyarados. Shadow Gyarados is actually a fantastic save switch because Dragon Breath plus Shadow damage equals slaps, and it will slap you pretty dang hard. Now, obviously you want to avoid Ampharos because yeah, it dies really fast, so just be careful. Now, one of the best switches in my opinion is probably Magna Zone. Magna Zone is an incredibly popular save switch just because you're able to generate you will force a lot of things out of submission with Wild Charge. Ironically, Magna Zone beats Venusaur in the switch scenario, which is freaking nuts. So if you do win the lead and they switch a Venusaur to you, guess what? You could switch your Magna Zone into Venusaur, which is nuts. And you still see a lot of things like Gyarados, Lapras, and Charizard. And in a lot of situations, you can bait with Mirror Shot because your opponent kind of has to shield the Wild Charge. If they call it wrong, it puts your opponent so far behind that you have a lot of bait potential with Magna Zone. That's one thing with Magna Zone. Crustle is still really good. Venusaur, Snorlax. Galade was a really popular safe switch just because it has that Leaf Blade ability. If you get a Swampert on this thing, it's ridiculous. However, just be careful because you see things like Dragonite, Clefable, Alola Muck. These are still very viable safe switches. So just be careful out. Just look out for them. Like I said, in the switch scenario, I said 1 through 30. Pretty much the same thing right here. You'll probably key in on the fact that, like, you have, like I said, Lapras, Gyarados, Galade, Machamp. The thing that makes Premier Cup so devastating is that there's so much variety. There's a lot of viable picks, but generally things like counter users, confusion users, and also wild charge users are still really prevalent or in the Ultra Premier Cup, so you'll still see a lot of it. In other words, if what you saw before, other than I'd say this elephant thing, what you saw before if you played Season 2 Ultra Premier is pretty much, I mean, Season 3 Ultra Premier. It's pretty much gonna be the same thing. But you might see some Buffalons running around. You might. But other than that, a lot of the switches you see or a lot of team comps you saw before will generally be the same. Alright, so rather than give you a matrix on like things that are already common, I decided to do a matrix on things that are like you haven't seen before. For example, Buffaloant with Mudshot, Stomp, Earthquake, multiple versions of Buffaloant, Charizard with Dragon Breath, both Blast Burn and Overheat. So if you want to use an Elite TM to get Blast Burn, here's the sim for it, and here's the one for Overheat as well. So you don't have to use one. Also, Porygone-Z. I want to do it this way because if you want to run a Matrix on your old team, or if you want to play your old team that you did in Premier Cup, nothing much has changed. However, there are these new mons that either are out or are going to be out. So rather than have you play the guessing game with these mons, I'd like to highlight these. Especially Buffaloant, because if Buffaloant does come out, like if you might see a few Buffaloants if someone decides to play with them in Ultra Premier. So I'd rather give an analysis on the Matrix on something that's not been here before or I haven't analyzed, rather than give you something like, oh, okay, so Ultra League Premier is the same stuff over and over again. So here, we're going to fire it. Here we go. So for Ultra Premier, this is the 2-shield scenario. So this is the 2-shield. So this is the lead. So in the lead, Dragon Breath Charizard actually beats Abomasnow. And Buffaloant with Mudshot, it looks like with, what was it? Mega Horn and Skull Bash actually, so it looks like Mega Horn and Skull Bash actually will take out Abomasnow. So there are multiple variations of this. Also, the Earthquake version and the Skull Bash version takes out Ampharos. You also beat Charizard. So you also beat Charizard with this Skull Bash version. So it looks like the Skull Bash version, as recommended by PvPoke, has looking good so far. It looks like for some, Dragon Breath Charizard actually beats itself. I'm guessing it's because you go straight Dragon Claw. So in this scenario right here, straight Dragon Claw Charizard will destroy you in... Yeah. Wow. But you barely live by 6 HP, so be really careful about this scenario right here. Because that's not... If something happens, then yeah, just be very careful because as you see here, if you do, and I think this is like CMP dependent. So let's see, they fire, you block, you fire, they block. Okay, so it looks like you still be okay. It looks like you'll be able to do a little more damage than the Dragon Claw variant will do. So just be careful because that's cutting it close. So if you do have Dragon Zard versus the Fire Spin one, just be careful. All right, back to the sim. We got Ampharos. So Ampharos, it looks like Buffalo beats Ampharos because Mudshot, and it looks like as usual, Dragon Breath Charizard gets beat by Ampharos. So just be careful. Like I said, you beat Charizard, you beat Clefable. What the? You beat Clefable with the Dragon? I think this is bait dependent because if they call the Dragon Claw, it's gonna suck. So just be careful. Dragon Breath Zard actually beats Dragonite, which is pretty nuts. So in the 2 shield, you actually beat Dragonite. This is insane. Do you just beat it just going... Yep. You actually do more... Oh, wow. Yeah. This is nut. That's pretty nuts that you do more. I'm guessing it's because Dragonite... Yeah, Charizard actually has, like, a higher defense stat, as you see here. But this is nuts. So you actually beat Dragonite into 2 shields with Charizard, just literally going straight Dragon Breath, and then you just Dragon Claw to death. That's pretty nuts. So, Dragon Breath Zard looks like it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Porygone-Z, unfortunately, doesn't really take the cake into 2 shield for a lot of things. In fact, it only beats Gengar and Muck, it looks like. For the rest of it, it just loses against everything else. So, Porygone-Z in the lead with 2 shields is a big no-no. So we have Charizard again. Looking over here, it looks like Buffalo beats Electivire and Napoleon. It beats such a wide variety of things. It's no wonder that Buffalo is so strong. Ironically, it looks like Earthquake does have some play versus some matchups. For example, Earthquake beats Ampharos, but you lose against Charizard, but you beat Napoleon. In my opinion, I've seen a lot more Charizards than Dragonite, so you kind of don't want to run Earthquake. Well, you kind of lose against all variations anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but Buffalo looks like it's a force to be reckoned with. Charizard with Dragon Breath also beats Excavalier, and you beat well, it looks like the overheat. Why do you beat it with this variation? Oh, I think it's because this is yeah, why do you lose against Galade? That's pretty odd. Because you shouldn't. Okay, you just go straight Dragon Claw. Oh, it's like an even scenario. It looks like you go straight Dragon Claw, but you win the 1 shield, but you lose the 2 shield? Is it because okay? So if they bait, even if they win, so you'll actually so with Dragon Breath Zard, just be careful because you'll actually like KO each other. But like, why is this simulation? Why does the overheat variation win? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so it looks like I don't know why those sims are off, but it looks like if you just go Dragon, you win just straight Dragon Breath. Just you don't even you can eat a Leaf Blade if you wanted to. Yeah, you could eat a Leaf Blade if you wanted to over here, so you don't have to worry about that. So this one's a little off, so you will beat Galade, just go straight Dragon Claw and Dragon Breath it down. Buffalo beats Gengar because of course Gengar doesn't really do anything. Shadow Punch, Shadow Ball you double resist it, and you're good. You also beat Honchkrow with the Skull Bash variant. Well, can't you just go straight Stomp? So real quick with this one. With Buffalo, can you win with Buffalo just going straight Stomp against Honchkrow? No, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. Oh, it's because Mudshot. Oh, I get it, because Mudshot's resisted. So Mudshot's resisted against Flyers, so just be careful about that. You beat Magna Zone with Buffalo. This is freaking hilarious, because Magna Zone's really popular in the lead, and so is Lone Muck. It's a very popular Switch. You beat Shadow Machamp with Charizard. Do you straight Dragon Breath down? Or do you just like bait the shield and then you just... Yeah, you literally just Dragon Breath it to death. You can block both. You can literally block like 2 shield and then you just Dragon Breath it down. So you beat Machamp, you beat Zone with Buffalo, and it looks like Dragon Breath Zard also beats Amok as well. Obstagoon and Poliwrath. And Snorlax, and it looks like Buffalo flips a lot of like... So you beat Slowbro Confusion. You also beat all these other matchups. You also beat Shadow Swampert with the Skull Bash variant. So it looks like that's why Buffalo is so powerful. You actually beat Togekiss with Charizard. I'm guessing this is bait dependent though, because you can... I think you... is this bait? Yeah, this is probably bait, because you do have to... I'm pretty sure you have to land like a Blast Burn. Yeah, you have to land a Blast Burn to finish this off. So be careful against Togekiss, because Togekiss can actually just end your life if it decides to, because of the... Yeah, it can decide to literally just end your... So Venusaur, Charizard beats Venusaur, of course, but looks like Buffalo loses against all of them, and that's a 2-shield. So it looks like Buffalo with Skull Bash is the best variation. And it looks like either variation with Charizard. Looks like you'll still beat the same matchups. It's just... Well... I think the Blast Burn variant flips. Yeah, the Blast Burn variant actually flips more. As you see here, UB a low. UB. We'll see more in the earlier shields, but it looks like Blast Burn Charizard with Dragon Breath takes the cake. And like I said, Porygon-Z just gets. This thing dies. This thing sucks in the 2 shield. Like, don't use it in 2 shield. Like, yeah, you have the debuff, but like, if you don't get the debuff, you're screwed. But if you look at these ratings, they're so godforsakenly bad, it doesn't matter if you get the debuff. Like, look, 100, 300, 400. Like, dude, those things suck. Which means even if you do get the debuff, you're gonna die. So don't use it. Or at least in the lead. Just don't use it in the lead. Please don't use it in the lead. I think that goes for a lot of matchups. Yeah, just don't use Porygon-Z in the lead. Just don't do it. Please don't do it. So the 1 shield things get a lot more interesting. So it looks like Buffalo starts losing effectiveness in some matchups. You beat Ampharos still with Skull Bash. Dragon Breath Charizard now loses against Abomasnow. However, you beat Charizard still. You beat Clefable. You still beat Dragonite. And it looks like Buffalo. Let's see. Anything interesting? You still beat Galarian and Excavalier. Buffalo beats everything down with much. Well, the Skull Bash variant does. I think the interesting thing is you actually flips. For example, Empoleon loses the Earthquake. And you actually lose with it with the Skull Bash. So Skull Bash and Earthquake can actually flip some matchups. Take a look at your team, see what you cover and you don't cover, and if you have any of these 6 and you decide you want to try one out or use them, just be very careful. Because like I said, Premier Cup is kind of expensive. Yeah, it's kind of expensive. So just if you don't want to do something, don't feel like you're obligated to. Looks like Overheat does win some matchups here. So Overheat does, in the 1 shield, flip a lot of matchups. I'm guessing because you literally nuke something to a you beat Slowbro. You beat Slowbro with Dragon Breath Zard. I think you beat the shield. Oh, you just straight, yeah, so you beat the shield Dragonfly, you straight Overheat, and then you just nuke it. And you'll still live. So this is really interesting. So Overheat Charizard does have some get P potential in this meta. As you see, Skull Bash Bison just continues to beat the living crap out of the entire meta. No, seriously, look at these matchups. You beat Slowbro, you beat Snorlax Shadow, Snorlax Swampert, and Swampert Shadow. The Earthquake variant, like I said, does have some play. So does the Mega Horn one. Just be careful and look at which ones you want to flip. But it looks like for the most effective usage, I would say Buffalo with Skull Bash is probably your best bet. If you don't get a fire thrown into you, it looks like Buffalo is really strong as a safe switch, like it says on PV Pokes ranking system. Dragon Breath Charizard also does some insane things. How the heck do you beat Togekiss? Let me guess, you bait with Dragon Claw and then you nuke it. Touché. How do we not know that? Yep. So it looks like you have to bait. It looks like you have to bait. I think you have to bait, because if you don't bait, let's see what happens. Don't bait with W shields. Oh, you still win. You still win straight Blast Burn. Oh, that's because Charm's resisted. So you can literally just go straight Blast Burn with Charizard and still just destroy Togekiss. Nobody likes you, die. And you beat Venusaur, of course, because Venusaur, Vine Whip, you're double resistant with fire and flying, and then fire hurts. You ever light a plant on fire? It dies. And you know what happens to Venusaur when it gets lit on fire with no shields? It dies. So, in the 0 shields, this is the closer. We get, and we go all the way to the left. Like I said, Buffalo has, with this variation, seems to flip certain matchups. I would take a look at what you're weak to before you run it as your switch. See which moveset you want to do, but it looks like Stomp and Skull Bash are literally the best variations for you. But others, as you see, still have play. Like, for example, the Mega Horn version beats in the no shield. Everything else is just kind of, yeah. Also, Porygon-Z now redeems itself, because actually, let me go back, because I actually didn't analyze poor Porygon-Z. Like, I actually didn't talk about Cyber. So, Porygon-Z beats a few matchups. It's still not incredibly strong as a switch. In fact, you beat Swampert, you beat Snorlax, you beat Gengar. So, you beat a couple of things with the Blizzard variant. Just take a look at it, but yeah, is this straight Tri-Attack? You hear the pain in my voice. You know, when you try to do these things and you're like, look at like what they're expecting of you, that's a lot to ask for. Looks like you get a stronger matchup if you do have you have to bait with Tri-Attack though. So if you don't bait with Tri-Attack and you end up going straight Blizzard, I believe you do lose. That's correct. So just be really careful when you're in Porygon-Z. Tri-Attack has to bait the shield, unless you're in the no shield scenario. So if we're in the no shield, Porygon-Z with Blizzard actually flips things. So you nuke Abomasnow, you beat Ampharos, you beat Charizard, Dragonite, Driplim. You lose against a lot of nuke. So anything that nukes you or outpaces you, like Electivire, is going to destroy you. Don't even bother thinking you're going to live against Machamp unless you have energy advantage, because Machamp is going to destroy your life. So Porygon-Z in the closer looks like it's very, very strong. That is given you have energy and you're able to nuke them. But like I said, if they have energy and they can nuke you, it's a bad situation. So make sure you have shields. or make sure you just have energy lead with Porygon-Z. Anyways, it looks like Buffalo and Charizard in the closer scenario really do some work. As you see, Charizard with Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, Blast Bird. Actually, all variations. So both variations actually do a lot of damage. Buffalo wins against Clefable, and it beats Abomasnow, but you lose against a lot of things like Charizard, Ampharos. So it looks like Buffalo in the closer is really dangerous. It looks like it loses a lot of matchups, but it still has some play. For example, you beat Scizor, you beat Slowbro, you beat Snorlax, you beat Shadow Snorlax, you beat Swampert. So you still flip a lot of matchups with Buffalo in the zeros. Well, that's the that's the football tackle one. The Skull Bash, give me defense +1. The MVP, the defensive player of the year, or rather the defensive bison of the year is the Buffalo. So Buffalo got a buffer. So just be careful. But yeah, like I said, all three variations kind of flip stuff. The Skull Bash and the Stomp one looks like it's the best one. So just make sure you keep in mind like which one you want to use. But like I said, the Skull Bash one, the Helmet Destroyer looks like it really does flip a lot of matchups in the zeros. Charizard, like I said, Charizard, both variations do some work. As you see, Charizard flips a lot of notable matchup. Well, not a lot of it doesn't flip every matchup. In the closer, you probably it flips a lot though. So just take a look at Charizard. If you end up in the closer, Dragon Breath is going to do a lot. Well, Dragon Breath. Well, if Charizard just destroys destroys a lot of things, okay, in the closer. If it has energy, 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to nuke you to death. For example, Electivire versus Charizard. If Charizard has energy leave against Electivire, you can get a Blast Burn off. This thing is dead. For example, let's say you start with like 30 energy plus Dragon Breath. Does this flip the matchup? It does. See, a lot of things, if you have energy lead, you can still beat it. So don't think that just because in the closer scenarios are probably the hardest to sim, are the hardest to emulate if you aren't practicing, because it doesn't take into account energy lead, etc. Unless it's just like an outright nuke. For example, if you beam an Azu at a certain range with Typhlosion, it will yeet it in Great League. In Ultra League, because everything has a little bit of bulk, I wouldn't bank on that too much. Again, in this closer, you can rely on these scenarios, but always remember, the closer is always an iffy thing to simulate unless everything is to the T. For example, everything has no energy, etc. But generally, this is how you really like analyze it. Anything below here that doesn't have a plus, like if it's 600, you're safe. If it's 500, if it's like 500, like close to 500, like let me see where I can find one that's like really close to 500. Or like on the scale right here, 511 Swampert. For example, Buffalo with this variation would Stomp Megahorn. If Swampert has energy, you can die. So just make sure, like I said, keep that in mind. Anything that's really close with this, really be careful, especially in Ultra League. Yes, everything is bulky, but here, if we do this and we start and boy Swampert has some energy, you're gonna get yeeted to the next dimension. So just be careful, okay? Like I said, Swampert wins. You only win up a shield in this scenario with Swampert with energy. So like I said, close the scenario. Just be really careful. You can follow it, but like I said, if it's close to 500, just be careful. Because with energy lead, things can get flipped, especially if they're close. Anyways, in summary, this is Ultra Premier in a nutshell. Ultra Premier is really great because you don't have to face Cresselia, Giratina Altered, etc. You don't have to face Melmetal. Legendaries are really oppressive past Great League, so now since the Premier Cup is out, it's really beneficial for those that really. And a lot of friends that I know really love Premier Cup, and people say they like Premier Cup. Ultra League Premier is like the best thing since GBL ever came out. Because like I said, you don't have to go through all this nonsense. Cresselia, Giratina, you don't have to go through Armor, Mewtwo, Registeel, none of that. You don't have to go through the trash can. You don't have to go to mutation that got mutated in Team Rocket Slide. You don't have to go through Trick or Treat Dragon or the Cold Turkey. Either one of those. You're Gucci. You don't have to worry about them. You get to contend with everything that's not a legendary or mythical in Ultra League Premier Cup. Again, it's kind of expensive. I did go over some scenarios. If I were at like anything with any analysis, please do your homework. Come in here, put your team on the simulator, run a matrix, see what you win and see what you lose against. There's something called the team builder here too that allows you to do that. For example, I go to Ultra League, I go to Ultra Premier, I add my team, which is Dragonite, Magna Zone, and Venusaur, and you rate the team, it will tell you exactly what you're weak against. Your bulk coverage. You don't have to follow this to the T. A lot of things in Ultra Master, like a lot of people abandon the bulk thing, but like you'll still see like what you beat in the one shield over here. And like I said, you can always run a matrix to see what you win or lose against and what you can practice. Practice, practice, practice. Ultra Premier, even though you don't have legendaries, it's still difficult. It's still gonna run through matches quickly, and you got, just like with any other league, you need to know what's up. So run your team, run a sim, do your great. I wish you guys all the best of luck. Again, you got 2 weeks of Premier. You've got 2 weeks of Ultra League Premier, and then after that you got Masters. After Masters we have Halloween, and then after Halloween we got all 3 cups again. So good luck to all your journeys. I wish you all the leads, all the closers, and make sure you study, make sure you do all your homework, and I will see you guys on the next video. And I wish you good luck next week for Ultra League Premier Cup.